Alright, so now we want to wire the rest of the buttons up. So what I've done here, I've got my single different colour because opposite the ground, and I've just gotten a single wire into one of these quick disconnects with a bit of electrical tape for insulation. And what I'm going to do is you just slide them in like that, like so, and then you get this end, and you want to solder it to these points right here, right there. So depending on which button which. Now I'm not sure. The 2009, see how mine's 2009 circuit board, you can see that. 2009 just there. I'm not sure if they're different on 2000. I know 2007's a common ground and these are non-common ground. So, but whether I'm pretty sure the buttons layout is different. But so you can see on the right there is ground, and then it goes through. So that's where the yellow daisy chain will connect. And then I've got it laid out somewhere here how it's set up for each wire. Looking at the PlayStation, so you got ground, ground L1, L2, X, square, circle, triangle, R2, R1. You can see on here that it actually does say right there on this one it says R1 and then R2, and on the other side, if you can see under that little thing, it says L1 and L2. They're backwards, but it says it. The other they say it like BD and BL and BR, and I don't know what the fuck those mean. So what I've done, what I'm going to do, is wire them specifically so that they work as the straight up, just the normal joypad setting for the PlayStation for Street Fighter 4. So that way, when I plug it in to the PS3, I don't have to change any settings or anything. I just go to the default joypad, not the arcade stick, just the default joypad, and it will work fine. Because I've seen in tournaments and shit, people bring their own arcade sticks and have to sit there and set up their controls and etc. So I figured, just if I wire it specifically buttons to button, then there won't be any messing around later on. But also what I've done, in case I want to change the wiring later, the button configuration, I've made all the wires for the buttons the same length, and that length is long enough to reach from any point here, any of these soldering points, to any of the connection points on these buttons. So all the buttons are the same length, so they'll all reach anyway. So if I want to change them out once they're soldered on, I don't have to change the button and resolder and shit. I can just pull off the quick disconnect and change it to a different button, say over here or whatever, however you want to set it up. Now, if you have a 2009 PCB, your setup's most definitely going to be like this. I can put a picture up on the link somewhere for people who want to follow this, but this is how my first one was set up. I'm pretty sure this one will be the same, so I'll give it a go and tell you how it goes from then on. So. Alright, so now got all my wires there. I've gotten rid of the daisy chain for now, just so it doesn't get in the way, because I don't want to melt any wires while I'm soldering. What I'm going to do is just drop a bit of solder onto each of these points. Just make them little mounds onto each of the little thing. But you got to make sure that when you're doing it, the points don't touch each other. So you put a glob of solder there, and then you put a glob of solder there, but you make sure you can still see that separation in the middle of the two, because you don't want any electrical signals, crossing over to the same wire. You're pushing one button, you'll be doing two attacks, kind of thing. So you want to avoid that. What I'll also do is on the end of each of these little copper bits, I'll just melt a tiny bit of solder onto them, which makes it so when you connect them, the solder melts on both the wire and the point, and then it just fuses together. It's much easier to make it stick. So. What I usually do is just get a little drop on the end of the soldering tip, and I kind of just go up. Be sure to be very careful. You don't want to melt any of these wires with this hot solder. So. There you go, there's one. Alright, so this is what it should look like. There we go. You can see there's just little lumps of solder on each of those points, and it's nice. You can't. None of them are joining. You can see clearly in between them. I had to. I took one of these off just while I was soldering because I didn't want to melt it as I was soldering. So these don't actually have to be on right now. I was having them on just to show you what they look like. But now what I'm going to do is solder a bit, put a bit of solder on each of the ends. And the way I do this is get the wire, and I just put the solder on the bottom of the wire to heat it up. I just drop. Just dab the bit of solder on top of the wire, and it just kind of melts into it. There you go. Now I've gotten a bit of solder on each of the tips of these wires here. So as you can see, it's a bit silver there. There's a little lump on the end. So now I'm going to solder them to the points here. Alright, so there's all the wires soldered to the points, except for the ground, which is the very left or right if you're looking at the right way up. But it's one over on the left there. So what I'm going to do right now is connect my daisy chain here, and then just solder that one point, and all the buttons will be done. And there you go. That's the button. It's all done. It's a bit messy, but it'll do.